Okay, we are on the air. Hello, everybody. Roll and Move Reviews is making its return. We have come back. I know we've been away for a while. There were some rumors out there that I heard. I had rumors that I had died. Not sure where that came from, but that was out there. But we have come back, and joining us for our triumphant return to the internet, very good friend of our show, somebody we're always excited to have with us. You know him as the Retro Board Gamer from Dice Tower and
Board Game Blender.
from Board Game Blender. Sorry, I got some feedback there. This is Asdruval, the Retro Gamer. Give him a hand, everybody.
Thank you, thank you. You know,
Thank you very much for joining us.
funny you should mention that the Retro Gamer. Everybody knows me as the Retro Gamer, but some people don't know that I also play new games also.
That's why I'm excited to be doing this project with you. And the
Right.
reason why we're coming back now, the reason why I wanted to be here, is because it's fall. It's going to be the end of the year, and it is top 100 season. And
It
I wanted
is.
to get in on that sweet countdown action. But Ezra, I thought about it, I'm like, 100 games, that's a long list. That's a lot of work. So I reached out to one of my very favorite people in board game media, and Z Garcia didn't answer any of my emails, so I reached out to Asdruval, and
Yes,
he
I'm the next best thing, I guess.
but we agreed. We said, hey, let's split the difference. I'll do a list of 50. You do a list of 50, and viewers will get two for the price of one, or maybe it's one for the price of two, but we won't overthink that. But that way, we're going to go back and forth. I'll do one, you do one. We're going to do 50 games. Today, we're going to start with our 50 through 41st top games of all time. And Azrael, like you said, one of the reasons I'm excited to be doing this with you, I mean, honestly, you were my first choice. And that was because I feel like we kind of do, from Board Game Blender, we only know you as a collector, or at least more as a collector than as a player. So I
Right.
figured doing this list would, give us a chance to get to know you a little bit better as a gamer.
Right. And back to the retro board games, I'm grateful to be on Blender because some of these games that I show, like I haven't pulled out in years. I dust them off, and
Sure.
it's like, wow, look at this. This is a great game, And I'm always thinking that, whoa, somebody should reprint it. One of Vassal's laws that if the game is good, it will be reprinted.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
if we can talk about a little bit about restoration games right now, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, so Justin Jacobson is starting a new company called Restoration Games, and him and Rob Davio from Seafall and Pandemic Legacy fame are going to be taking games from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and probably a little bit into the 90s, and they're going to pick some games and remodernize them, kind of work out the mechanics that have been outdated, update the artwork, and try to re-release them into today's market. And I'm pretty excited that he's reached out to me, and I'm giving him some input, and I'm just kind of glad to be a part of that because I always thought in my mind that, man, these games should be reprinted. So
Absolutely.
what everybody could do is just go online to restorationgames.com, sign up for the newsletter, follow them on Twitter, follow them on Facebook to get all the latest info. And I know that they are right now honing down on their initial release. So we're all very excited about that. And just keep an eye out, man. And hopefully some of the games that everybody's voted for so far, and I know they've gotten a lot of votes, hopefully some of them will make them back into print.
Awesome. Are you guys still taking votes on the website?
I believe they are still taking votes on the website. I believe they are.
Okay, we have a link in the description right now. If you want to check out Restoration Games after the show, click on that. What you can do is you go on and they have a whole list of games that Ezra was talking about, all the different games from back in the day when you were a kid or maybe before you were born, depending on how old you are. But some really exciting games. So go on there, vote for Fireball Island. That's the game I want to see. And fingers crossed, hopefully next year I'll be able to have Fireball Island, the new edition, on my top 50 list. So let's see what we can do to make that happen.
Right. Yeah. Just everybody go to the website. Like I said, subscribe to the newsletter so you can keep up to date on all the info on what's happening with the company.
Awesome.
Justin Jacobson and Rab Davio.
That sounds great, man. It's great. I mean, obviously, great fit for you. Something they picked the right person to do that project. So, very excited to see what comes of that. So
Okay.
we can get started here. We're live. Please comment. That's one of the reasons why I want to do it live, so we can get real time feedback on everybody's opinion of what they think about our games, our picks. If you got your own top 50 and you're watching, you want to put it in the comments. We'll read along with you, and you can play along at home. And another reason why I want to do it live is because if we do this live, then I don't have to edit a video. And as we determined from the whole top 100 thing, I am lazy, and this is the easiest way to do it. So, Asdruval, if you're ready, let's get. Well, I wanted to ask you before we started, though, how did you find the experience of making your top 50 list?
It was tough. I mean, I don't know how everybody else does a top 100 list, but I mean, it's tough. My criteria for my top 50, I guess, would have to be how many times I can bring it to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I buy new games all the time, and some of these are going to get bumped down. So I guess this is my top 50 as of today.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I found it was interesting, as I was making the game, like you said, right now, how strongly it was influenced by, when I can game, where I game, who I game with, those kind of things. That situation for me right now, as of today, how that impacted this list. And I kind of wish I would have made one of these, 2-3 years ago, so I can compare, because I know it would have been very different. But yeah, what I'm playing now and who I'm playing with has definitely made a big impact on the list.
Right. That's a good idea. I might just save this list so 1 year later I can say, well, a year ago this was my top 50 and see how
Yeah,
much
yeah,
it changed, or maybe some of the games moved up on the list, some of them completely fell off. That's good. I think I'm going to do that.
yeah, and it's hard. I mean, honestly, a lot of this is based on mood. If I made this list a month from now, it might be different. But I mean, these are like you said, right now, as of this second, these are our top 50 games. So why don't you go ahead and start us off, Asdruval? You can tell us your top 50 game of all time.
Okay, so first I'm gonna put a disclaimer out there that this is just all entirely my opinion. Okay, nobody shoot me off some hate mail or anything like that. So I don't want to offend anybody, but this is just how I feel personally. So
Sure.
now that we got that straightened out, so my 50th game, or I don't know what I would call it, number 50 would be Small World.
Okay.
I know Small World came out years back, but I still play it. I still enjoy it. That's one of my go-to games where people have advanced from Ticket to Ride and they need something a little bit more. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
whip out Small World because almost everybody knows how to play Risk, and it's kind of like a Risk type game.
Sure.
And so that is my number 50 is Small World.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely, like you said, like that next level intro game, and we may be talking about this again soon, further down the list. But yeah, it's definitely a great game, and I'm a big fan. A theme you're going to see on my list is a lot of games with variable, asymmetrical abilities and powers. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about Small World is making those different combos of races and abilities, and you're getting a different game every single time.
Right.
Awesome. All right. Well, my number 50. The one thing I was surprised by is that not a lot of deck builders made my list. I'm a big fan of deck builders. I play a lot of them, but not a lot of them eked their way into my top 50. But I do got a couple to talk about tonight, including my number 50, which is Rune Age. And Rune Age is a deck builder set in the Descent Runebound universe,
Mm-hmm.
and you're playing in that world, and every player plays as a race. You're playing a different race, elves or humans or the undead or whatever races they have in that universe. And it's a scenario-based game, which is unique for a deck builder.
Yeah.
There are different things. There's a co-op version. There's a more competitive head-to-head version. There's a version where you're just basically trying to achieve your own objectives. So it's different every time. Something else I really enjoy about it is, unlike a lot of deck builders, where you just have one way to do things, one way to earn things. There are three separate currencies in this game. You have gold, you have influence, then you have your combat ability. And it's neat how it works. It's pretty thematic where, you use your gold to buy your own troops. And you have your own troops, you have your own private stash of cards that you can buy from to build your deck up. And you also have a neutral pile as well, which is cool. You have two different ways to build your deck. Use your gold to buy your own guys, which give you combat value. Combat value, you conquer cities. And by conquering cities, that gives you influence to bring people from outside your territory into your deck. So it's very thematic, which is something that's missing from a lot of deck builders. And it feels like, there's a lot going on. It feels like almost like it's more than a deck builder because so much is going on. Each different scenario has its own event deck. So it feels like a much bigger game than it actually is. It's one I really enjoy. That's number 50, Rune Age.
Rune Age, that's an interesting one. Is that an older game? I mean, I know I've seen it before.
I think it's probably, it's not more than 5 years. It's 5 years at the oldest. I want to say more like 3 or 4, somewhere around there. It came out before the new version of Descent, but
Okay.
I'm not sure how much earlier than that. But it hasn't been around too long.
Okay. All right. Are you going to fire off, or are we just going to go back and forth here?
We'll go back and forth. That's fine.
Okay, so my number 49 is a game that kind of, I think, has flown under the radar a little bit, and that's a game called Bring Out Your Dead.
Okay.
Okay, it was a failed Kickstarter project last year that Upper Deck picked up. Now, in Bring Out Your Dead, you play an undertaker that is burying family members in the best possible plots. And it sounds really weird, but I'm telling you, it's a blast to play. And that's one of those games that the theme is so morbid that I kind of have a hard time trying to find people to play it, and people have never even heard of it either.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a hilarious game. It's a cool game. It comes with little tiny wooden coffins.
Okay.
It's just a great theme that I've never seen before, ever tackled. So that's my number 49. Bring Out Your Dead.
I haven't played that yet, but I want to. I think it was last year at Origins. I saw it was a pretty popular game there. I remember every time I walked by the Upper Deck booth, it was just packed with people playing that. I saw a lot of people carrying around. So that seemed to be one of the big hits at Origins last year.
Right, there was coming out of the gate. There was a big buzz, but
yeah.
I don't hear anybody talking about it or playing it much anymore.
It kind of died off. It seems like, at least like as far as the buzz goes. But it's definitely one that I'd still like to check out.
Okay.
My number 49 is a game a little bit off the beaten path. It's a game called Finca, and in Finca you are a fruit farmer, and it's pretty cool. You farm these cool little fruit meeples. They're nice thick pieces of wood. They're all painted. The lemons are yellow, oranges are orange. They're all real nice, brightly colored, and it has a really neat like rondel Mancala mechanic. Where you have your workers, your meeples, and the Mancala is built every game, so it's different every time. And each space on the Mancala is a different fruit. And what you do is, after initial placement of where you want your guys to go, on your turn, you move your worker as many spaces as there are workers on his space right there. So say I had 3 guys on the board, it was me and 2 other guys, I'd move him 3 spaces. And then once he moves, whatever fruit he lands on, he'll take that many pieces of fruit equal to how many guys are there when he gets there. So say I move 3 spaces and I land on a space where there's 3 guys now, I'll take 3 pieces of fruit. So it's a real cool little puzzle mechanic, trying to maximize your move every time and pick up all the fruit you can. And then the rest of the board has tiles that show demand in different locations. You're trying to make different combinations, score the most points. It's a really fun game for me. It's different from a lot of the games I play. I don't know if you've ever played it or heard about it, Asdruval, but everything I read about it and hear comments on, people talk about being really cutthroat. And there are a few mechanics in it that can be a little, you can pull the rug out from people because when you collect the fruit, all the resources are limited. So if you take the last of something, they all go back. Everybody's stash goes back in the pile. So you kind of do have that opportunity to stamp people in the back. But for me, I've always found it to be a really soothing game. And I don't know why. I think it's just because the way the game looks, it's such a nice looking, pretty game. You got your farm scenery, you got those really cool wooden pieces I was talking about, and I think the mechanics are just something about the mechanics just relax me. Just taking your time and working your way around that board and trying to figure out exactly where to go. So I mean, it's a nice. My group usually plays it like if we play like a real tense game, we might pull up out think every once in a while afterwards, and it kind of calms everybody down. And I don't know why. Like I said, that's not what you usually hear about that game, so don't play it based on that. But it's
Right.
definitely a fun game.
Right. So would you say it's got a lot of take that element to it?
Well, I mean, you're vying for the same spaces and going back and forth. And I said the worst part of it is the fact that, say, you're collecting oranges, and you have the entire stash of oranges, and you're going for a big play with oranges. I can come through if there's 2 oranges left in the general stash. I can make my move to take those, even if I don't need them, and then you have to put all yours back. So all that work you put into working on those oranges just disappears. But most of the people I play with, and I think one of the reasons why it's not as cutthroat for me, is, and I assume most people would do this when they play it. They're real careful about that, and the mechanic is meant to prevent hoarding, and because of that, most people don't hoard. So it very rarely comes up. I mean, that's the worst thing you can do to somebody in that game. And if someone's not paying attention, you can really screw them over. But it's not that bad.
Right. That's one of the games that's been on my list. Just haven't had a chance to check it out, and
Mhm.
I haven't even mentioned the play groups that I do play around. They've never mentioned it before, and I've heard of it, but never actually played it. But
Yeah.
I'll have to give that one a closer look.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun game. Give it a try.
Okay, my number 48 is Elder Sign.
Okay.
Now, Elder Sign to me, well, let me back up for a second. I played just exactly one game of Arkham Horror, just one, because that thing lasted for about 5 or 6 hours,
Yeah.
and I was literally like, my mind was just getting ready to explode. The game was so long. So when they released Elder Sign and they said, "Oh, it's like Arkham Horror, just compact," I was like so excited. So I went out and bought it and I played it, and it's just everything that I wanted in a condensed version of that game.
Sure.
Elder Sign, it's a great game. It still hits the table. I still enjoy playing it very much, and I'm waiting for the Arkham Horror card game actually that should be out hopefully later on this month or
It's
early
soon.
next
Yeah.
month. Very soon. I'm excited about that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, Elder Sign for me is just Arkham Horror, just condensed in a smaller box.
Yeah. I really love the Cthulhu theme, and especially the way Fantasy Flight does it. I mean, they have kind of like the stranglehold on that. But Elder Sign, it's a good game. It's not my favorite Arkham game, but it does make it to the table more than any of them. Because I think you can play an entire game of Elder Sign before you've set up Arkham Horror.
I know. That's right. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
So I mean, like we were talking about, just like who you play with and time factor. I mean, that's definitely one. It's like, I definitely can't get as many people to play Arkham as I used to. But Elder Sign's a lot easier to get a table, and it does scratch that Lovecraft itch.
Yeah, I was just this weekend. There was a small game convention here in the town that I live in, and I went there yesterday morning. Some guys were setting up Arkham Horror. I played a couple hours. I went to go eat. I came back later that night, and they were still playing the same game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Once
oh
you
my
get
gosh.
once you get into all the expansions for that game, you're gonna be. I mean, the table space alone you need is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, it's that it definitely needed condensed, and they did a good job with that with Elder Sign.
Right. So that was my number 48, Elder Sign.
Awesome. Okay, my number 48 is a personal choice. It is Castle Panic. And the main reason why I put this game on the list is because I played a lot with my son. It's a game he and I, when it's just the two of us, and we want to play some. Every once in a while, we'll pull it out. and it's a fantasy themed co-op. Basically, you have a board where the board's a circle and it's divided two ways. It's kind of like into different pie pieces. They're different colors, and then there's concentric circles moving into the center where there's the castle you're trying to defend, and monsters are moving in on those concentric circles, and you have to play cards that match the circle and the color that the monster's on to attack it. And it's a very simple game to learn, but it's not a simple game to beat. It's got a lot of things. There's a lot of a lot of things come out of that bag that because you're pulling monsters out of the bag every turn. And a lot of things come out. You plan, and there's a lot of teamwork involved, but your plans can fall apart very easily. So it's an exciting game. Like I said, it's a really good fantasy, fun co-op family game.
Right. Have you tried any of the other Panic series games that
I have. I got Dead Panic. Where's
Dead
that?
Panic?
Dead Panic right here on the shelf somewhere. Where did I see that? Oh, right there.
Right there.
And I like that. That one is a little bit more of a game. I don't know if you played that one, but it has a little more bit of a game to it, where you're playing as instead of just having stuff come moving in and trying to stop them.
Right.
You're actually playing characters and moving around the board. So it has a little bit more of a game to it. But again, it's one of those circumstances where I'll probably play Castle Panic more because it is easier and more accessible.
Right. I just played Star Trek Panic yesterday also, and
how was that? I haven't had a chance to play that yet.
That is an awesome game. You can play as the characters from the original series of Star Trek. That's definitely one that I'm going to pick up here pretty soon.
Yeah, that's another one I saw at Origins this year, and leading up to it, me and my friends were saying, well, we got Castle Panic, we have Dead Panic, we don't need another Panic game. But then we walked by and we saw that game set up with the Enterprise in the middle,
right?
And we're like, that looks awesome. We really need to play that. So I definitely want to get my hands on that and play that soon.
It's a good one.
Yeah, there's another one too. It's not on my list, but it's another one me and my son play together. It's even more of a more simplistic version of Castle Panic. It's called Justice League Axis of Villains. Have you seen that one?
Is that the one that's just the Target exclusive?
Yeah, exactly. It's Target exclusive.
Yeah.
And it's the same basic concept. You have rings and you have guys moving in the rings. It's a much easier game though to grasp, and we'll play that. It's a little quicker, so we'll play that when we have less time. But yeah, I like that mechanic, that whole idea of things moving in, trying to keep them pushed back. So yeah. I think it's a fun game. That's 48 for me, Castle Panic.
Okay, my number 47 is Doomtown Reloaded. I always said that I was never going to get back into collectible card games because it's just so darn expensive to play collectible card. And Doomtown started out as a collectible card game in which Pinnacle Entertainment introduced their what they call the Rolling Thunder release, meaning that every single month they would bring out a new expansion for the game. Mm-hmm. And since it was the collectible aspect, obviously you buy a booster pack and sometimes you're not going to get the cards that you wanted, so you just got to keep buying more and more and more. Mm-hmm. But with Doomtown Reloaded, it's now a living card game where they bring out an expansion every month, but you can buy all the cards just with one pack, which I love that style of what they call the living card game.
Sure.
It didn't get very well received. I know that I believe they have stopped making expansions for it, but they do have a lot of content now for it. They revamped the rules a little bit. They added a board game. I don't know if that was a necessity, but there's a board now. Explains the movement rules a little bit better, because one of the biggest problems that the original Doomtown had is there was a lot of question on how the movement worked around town. So they brought the board and they showed exactly where each person could move to and when. Cleaned up the rules a little bit, made the gunfighting a little bit more streamlined. That hits the table sometimes. It's really kind of hard in my area to find anybody that plays it. When my brother comes visits me from California, he always brings his Doomtown stuff. So that's my number 47, Doomtown Reloaded.
Cool. I've never played that. That's set in the Deadlands universe, right?
That's correct. Deadlands universe.
Okay, yeah, I played the original. Well, I don't know if it's the original board game, but Battle of Slaughter Gulch. And I really liked that game, and it didn't make my list, but it almost did because I really enjoyed that game, and I love that theme. I love that blending of like the almost like the Stand, like the blending
Right,
of Old West and the mystical stuff. It's a really
right.
cool theme. So I mean, and I see that Doomtown stuff on Board Game Geek all the time. Something's always piqued my curiosity.
So that's my number 47, Doomtown Reloaded.
All right. My number 47 starts a run of games that are giant things fighting other giant things. And I got a couple of those in a row. And the first one is King of New York, the sequel to King of Tokyo. And spoiler alert, King of Tokyo is higher up on the list. We'll talk about that one later. But I also enjoy King of New York enough to make my top 50. It's not as accessible as King of Tokyo, which I think is one of the reasons why. Well, first of all, I've played King of Tokyo so much more, so that's probably why it's higher. But King of New York is less accessible. I know a lot of people who are, quote unquote non-gamers, where King of Tokyo is the highest level they're going to go to on hobby games. So people I can get to play King of Tokyo are never going to play New York. So Tokyo is a little more accessible, and also I think that Tokyo has better monsters. I kind of feel like with New York they started to run out of ideas, and the monsters got a little more ridiculous, a little silly. But it's still a really good game. I really enjoy it. In this game, instead of fighting for one space, you're fighting all over the city of New York, and the 5 boroughs are each a different space. And Manhattan is much the equivalent of Tokyo in the original game, where that's the space you really want to be in to earn points. But you never take your guys off the board in this one. You're always doing something. And
I'm sorry. That's
no, go
interesting
ahead.
that you said that because I bought King of New York, and the group that I play King of Tokyo with, and I brought this. I said, "Oh, look, this King of New York," and they actually enjoyed the little bit extra that added that King of Tokyo didn't have.
Yeah. No, there's definitely more of a game there to sink your tooth into. No pun intended, but there's definitely more going on. And the one thing I like about the one thing New York has over Tokyo for me is that because there's more going on, you can actually play it 2-player, which really doesn't work with King of Tokyo when you're just battling over one spot. There's enough going on in this game where you can play 2 players because it's not just constant interaction and knocking everybody off all the space. So yeah, I mean there is more game there. You're fighting, you're knocking down buildings, you're fighting the military. So yeah, I do agree with you, and I'm sure there are groups out there that enjoy that more. But the people I play King of Tokyo with, for the most part, I mean they like New York, but they want to. If they had to pick, they'd go with Tokyo.
Right.
And I think
I think that they're getting ready to release the exact same thing that they did with Tokyo, where each monster has their own different ability.
yeah,
I
the
don't know if
evolution
that's out
expansion.
yet. Yeah, I don't know if that's out yet or if it's
No,
coming
that's
out.
another
But
one that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. But it's funny because I was just going to say, I think once that comes out, that might bridge the gap a little more and close the gap between these two games. Once you have the monsters, because that's the one thing. Even though there's more game to New York, kind of took a step back from Tokyo because Tokyo had those evolution cards that gave each character, each monster, its own personality. So I
right,
think once that comes out, it's going to make that a much better game.
right, and also I think they're selling King of Tokyo in big box stores, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, the new edition they are.
Right.
So
Okay,
that's my number 47.
that's a good one. Excuse me. Okay, we're on to number 46. Excuse me. And my 46 is Run, Fight, or Die. This is another one that I think has flown underneath the radar. It's gotten a lot of good buzz when it first came out, but it's kind of fallen flat. In Run, Fight, or Die, you're in the zombie apocalypse, and it's pretty cool how the game board is set up because there's 3 different sections on the game board, and there's zombies in section number 3 that are far away, and then zombies in section 2 that are a little bit closer, and zombies in section 1 that are like right on top of you. And it's just a game just to push back all these zombies and survive the big, I don't know what they call them, but there's this big, humongous zombie figure that was a Kickstarter exclusive that you have to fight off. He makes his round every time a card pops up. It's a really fun dice-controlled game. I think Richard Lanius did Run, Fight, or Die,
I believe so. Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's I find that I pull that out a lot. Probably one of the few zombie games that I have on my list, actually.
Hmm.
My number 46, Run, Fight, or Die.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I actually I'm a fan of zombie games. I mean, I don't get as sick of them as everybody else does, even though there is some overkill. But there are a lot of good ones out there, and that's one I haven't played yet. But it's kind of always floating on my radar right there. Just haven't got around to it yet, but it does look like a really good game. All right, my number 46. This is one that this was a Kickstarter. I first saw it. Well, I saw it on. Besides seeing it online in person, first time I saw it was Origin 2 years ago, and it is a game called Heavy Steam. And this game has a pretty cool theme. It's an alternate history where the new world, was never really developed. There's some kind of catastrophe in North America back in like the 1700s that prevented all the the growth and the expansion of the United States. So all the political focus and effort and militarily stayed in Europe, and it takes place in a Victorian era where instead of fighting with soldiers, the British and the French and the Germans are, their armies are made up of these giant, Victorian era steampunk mechs. And so you got your board is just like an open battlefield, and you have these really cool minis that look like something, almost look like they took a train and turned it into a giant robot. Really cool looking machines, and then you also get a player map, and that's really where the crux of the game is. Has a map of your mech basically, and there's different
Mm-hmm.
places, and these robots are steam powered. So you have these white cubes, these different cubes that represent steam. And to do different things, you have to move steam through the machine. So if you want to walk, you got to get steam down to the legs. If you want to use a weapon, you got to get steam to it. If you want to do something with a control part of you got to get steam to the head. So it's real. It's almost a clunky game, but it's kind of supposed to be. Even the roles in the rule book are a little clunky, but it's thematic because you're trying to operate these big, unstable, old-fashioned robots. They really shouldn't work too much, or not too. Should not work isn't the right way to say it probably, but they shouldn't be easy to operate. And even reading the rule book, it's funny. It feels like to me, if the game was a movie, reading the rule book would be that montage, that training montage early on where you're trying to figure everything out and everything's going wrong and you're seeing all the problems with it. So it's a hard game to grasp just because there are literally so many moving parts. But once you get the hang of it, it's really cool. It's really fun. Just trying to, move your monster, your robot real slow down the battlefield and finally getting to unload your weapons on the other guy. Pretty cool game.
Right, that's one that I've never heard of before, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds really interesting. It sounds really interesting, though.
Yeah, it's a very, very different theme, and it captures it really well. It's like I said, your battlefield is just a big open field, but you get these cards that you can change. Like you can turn terrain into hills, your rivers or something like that. You can upgrade your guy. You get, military assistance. A lot of cool stuff. Really fun combat game.
Okay.
And that's my number 46, Heavy Steam.
All right, on to number 45. My 45 is Takanoku. It's
okay.
I enjoy getting other people into the hobby, and I enjoy easy games to teach where I can just teach them in a couple of minutes, and then people grasp them pretty good. And Takanoku is another one of my gateway-ish games, I would call it. But
Sure.
it's got a meat on it where me as an experienced gamer, I can go in and sit down and enjoy a game of Takanoku, and it's one of the few games that I can get my wife to play with me.
Is that the one? Because there's two games. There's Takanoku, and there's another one that it sounds like. Is that the one with the panda?
That was the one with the panda. The other one you're talking about is Takedo.
That's it. Yeah, I always get those two mixed up.
Okay, yeah, Takanoku is the one with the panda that's eating all the bamboo.
Yeah.
And you're actually building a modular board, so every game is different. Moving the panda all over the place, seeing who can eat the most bamboo, and then they have an expansion out called Takanoku Chibis, which introduced baby pandas to the game and a mother panda. So it's just a pandemonia there. But yeah, really fun game. Get a lot of people interested in it, a lot of non-gamers, and that is
Sure.
my number 45, Takanoku.
Awesome. That's one that I haven't played yet, but I probably will soon because my kids are always asking for it. So that's when it's high on the list. Okay, my number 45, we're going to cross over here into the halfway point for the night, is a game called Monsters Menace America. And this is a game where if you look up Ameritrash in the dictionary, you're going to see a picture of this game. You're playing as these giant monsters, which are these really nice painted minis that come with the game. And the board is a map of the United States. And basically, you're wandering around America, laying waste to different cities. And you play as a monster, but you also play as a branch of the armed forces that's going to be attacking the other player's monsters. So you got that going on. So you're going around, you're destroying cities, you're upgrading your monster, you're hitting different mutation spots. Like if you hit 3 Mile Island, your monster's going to mutate and get new powers. You can upgrade your military. There's a big robot you can build for the military to bring on and fight the monsters. So a lot of cool stuff. Like I said, just minis and plastic and dice chucking. Very Ameritrash, but it's a lot of fun. Climax is the big battle with all the monsters, and it's a game I really enjoy.
Right. I actually have the original. That game of the original. I don't think it's called Monsters. Well, I don't think it's called what it is now.
Okay.
But I can't I right as you started talking, I go, oh yeah, that's the game, and then the title of the game just went out my brain. But yes, it's a reprint, and I'm glad they reprinted it because they made it look a lot better. And I also have the one that you're talking about too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy that game too.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun, and it has that kind of like Rampage Kaiju. It has a King of Tokyo feel, and if you're somebody who likes King of Tokyo, likes that theme, but wants to actually play the scenario out and play it a little less abstract, actually see the destruction happening, this is the game people should definitely check out.
I agree.
And that's my 45, Monsters Menace America.
Okay, my number 44. I gave this a lot of thought, and I was gonna rank it a little bit higher, but again, my criteria for how much it hits the table kind of put it down lower on the list, and that's Lords of Waterdeep.
Okay.
Another kind of gateway-ish game. We played it a lot. Me and my play group played it a lot, and then it kind of went on the back shelf. And then when the expansion came out, it was a whole new game with the expansion. In Lords of Waterdeep, you are basically trying to manipulate the underworld of this world, and everybody gets a hidden character. Nobody knows who the other one is, and you have a secret objective, and you're going around. It's a worker placement game, and you're going around and doing these things and doing scenarios, completing scenarios that will help your hidden character get more points at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another one of those games that you can teach it really quick, and everybody can just play it right away, and it's got a lot of depth to it too. So my number 44, Lords of Waterdeep.
And that's the hidden characters. That's part of the expansion, right?
No, the hidden characters is part of the main game, but they introduce a couple more in the expansion.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's one I've played that a couple times, and with a couple different groups, and I've always really enjoyed it. Everybody, that's one it's kind of one where you hear people complaining about it, and you hear some negative feedback on it, but anytime I've seen it come out, people have gotten excited and wanting to play it and have enjoyed it.
Right. Anybody that's part of that the Dungeons and Dragons universe would really like this board game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was 44, Lords of Waterdeep.
Okay, my 44, I really struggled as to whether or not to put this on my list because on the surface, it is a really dumb game. It is a game where if you saw it, it looks like a toy you would get in the toy aisle of the dollar store. The name of the game is Magical Athlete. And again, I almost didn't put on my list, but I just I just kept coming back to it because as dumb as the game looks and sounds, it's a lot of fun. And what the game is, it is very bare bones. It's basic. It comes with a very the board is just a fold-out oval track. You get one six-sided die and a bunch of stand-up characters, cardboard stand-up characters with really bad artwork. And it's a roll and move race game. You just move guys around the track, and you score points with each race. You do a series of races. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. The thing about it, though, and the thing that makes this game so cool, is that each of these little guys has their own little power that can impact the race somehow, either affect dice rolls or board placement or something like that. And remember, I said I like the asymmetrical powers. What you do is you draft your stable of racers at the beginning of the game. It's the first thing you do. Everybody takes turns picking, and it's an open draft. You see who everybody's getting. So it's very strategic. You want to pick the best racers, but there are certain abilities that might trump the ones you have. So you got to watch what everybody's getting and try and build your stable to be able to beat everybody else's. And then once the races start, you secretly select one of your racers to go up. So this is the second part of the strategy where, okay, I know what everybody else has. Now I got to figure out when they're going to run them and try to optimize my runners against theirs. Because even if I have a great power, they may have somebody who's going to totally negate that. So I got to be smart. And like I said, the races increase in value. So, which race do I want to win? When do I really want to spend this guy? Do I play him early to, just get the win earlier? Do I save him for later and see what everybody else has done? So there's a ton of decision making in this dumb little game. And I've seen it get really cutthroat. I've seen people get angry over it. I've been able to take it seriously. The races always come down to the wire. And like I said, you look at it and you're like, blah, this is a terrible game. Looks like checkers from the dollar store almost, but it is so much fun to play once you get into it.
That's another one I've never heard of.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still in print. I don't own it. My friend, it's a friend of mine owns it, and so I don't know. I can't imagine it's a very expensive game because the component quality is not great and you don't get much with it. But there's a lot of fun in that little box. So if you can find it, I definitely recommend you check it out. And that's my number 44, Magical Athlete.
Okay, we're on to number 43. My 43 is a game called Patchwork. Not very many people have heard of Patchwork, but it's a two-player game put out by, I believe it's Mayfair. And in Patchwork, you have a board that you're supposed to fill up with all these different quilt shapes, kind of like a Tetris-like thing. And you're going around rolling and picking up these different quilt patterns to put on your board. And the first person that fills up their board the best without any holes in it, well, you can have holes in it, but you'll get penalized at the end, is the winner of the game. And this is a theme that my wife enjoys because she is a quilt maker. She makes quilts. So when I saw it at the store, I'm all, oh, cool, this game is about quilts. So I bought it. We played it. I enjoy it with my wife a lot. And that's it. Number 43, Patchwork.
Cool. That's another one where, based on the theme I looked at, just like you said, you're like, I know about that. But I'm hearing a lot of buzz about it, especially, like I said, a lot of people doing their top 100 lists now. I'm seeing it show up on a lot of lists. So I definitely think it might be something I want to check out soon. All right, my number 43. Talked about deck builders before. And deck builders that, a lot of them don't have much theme to them. And speaking of games, deck builders that don't have a lot of theme to them, my number 43 game is Ascension. And this is a game, there may be a nostalgia factor for me putting this on my list. This is the first deck builder I ever played. I played this one even before Dominion. And one of the things I like about deck builders is I was never really ever able to get into like Pokemon or Magic the Gathering because I just was never good at building decks. Making every single little decision ahead of time, and do I put one of this in, or do I put two in, or maybe three, and what one do I take out? I just was never able to really grasp that. There were a few collectible card games that I got into and spent a lot of money on. but it turned out to be just a waste of money because I was just terrible at it. I could never win. So I love the idea of deck builders and doing it more on a tactical basis where you just see what you have and what you can work with. And I tend to enjoy deck builders that have a lineup where cards get replaced more than I do games like Dominion where you have a set a number of cards available to you. I just like the quicker pace of being able to, okay, what's in front of me right now and how can I maximize that to build the best deck. And Ascension, I mean, it has critics. The artwork is terrible. The theme is non-existent. But I really love just that fast-paced way of building your deck, and I love the different combos they make. I love the just the different types of cards. There's there's mechanical cards and life cards and things like that. And I just love the putting stuff together and the like I said, the quick pace of it.
Right. On the same note that you had, when Magic first hit, I was the horrible deck builder. I couldn't do it worth squat, and I ended up spending a lot of money. But as the years went on, and this is like years later, I started to get a little better. Still not that great, but I started getting better. With the Doomtown Reload is
Sure.
you build your own deck. The Netrunner Android, you build your own deck, which I'm a big fan of. But yeah, I've gotten a little bit better. But yeah, in the very beginning, I didn't know a clue what I was doing. I didn't know. But yeah, with deck builders, the cards are right in front of you, and you pick the card that is at the moment. There's no really tough decision about it. It's right there. Oh, I need that card. So
Yeah,
I do enjoy deck builders better than collectible games.
yeah, you don't have to sit there and analyze every single card and every single decision. You just kind of do it on the fly, and that definitely works better for me. But that's my number 43, Ascension.
Okay, on to number 42. My 42 is a Eric Lang game. It's called Trains and Stations. This is kind of like a Ticket to Ride-ish kind of game with dice. You roll dice to make your way across different cities, and it's a game that a lot of people don't like, and I don't know why. I enjoy train themed games, and when you add dice to it, hell man, I'm right on board with that one. But again, that was designed by Eric Lang, and number 42, Trains and Stations.
That's one I have not heard much about. I'll have to check that out. All right, my number 42. I don't have a lot of party games on my top 50. In fact, I think this is the only one I have. And Asdruval, it's one that you and I have actually played together. This game is Geek Out. This is a really cool. I see it right over my shoulder there.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game that's it's not a trivia game. It's not going to ask you questions. It's basically just you get a topic. Who can name the most Star Trek captains? Who can name the most Jedi? Who can name the most D&D classes? And you just go around and basically it's reverse name that tune where, okay, I can name 3, I can name 4, I can name 5. And you go around and you pick, until somebody gets the top number, no one else can beat that. And then they got to do that. Okay, I can name 12 D&D classes, and you got to go through that. It's just so much fun. If you're a person like me who just has a head full of useless knowledge, and you want to test that useless knowledge against other people, it's a really fun game. You just, like I said, you don't need to know specific things. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to have almost like a surfacey knowledge of a lot of different things, and you'll do well at it. So like I said, me and Azra, if you want to go back, check out our video. We did a live playthrough of that. Me and Asdruval and a few other of our friends in the board game media world played that game, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I have a lot of fun every time I play it.
Yeah, we had a blast, and the question that sticks out in my mind was when you asked how many U.S. presidents can you name?
Yeah.
And Barry is from France, and
Yeah.
George is from Scotland, so
yeah.
The only one they knew was like Obama.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a little North American centric, but it's really fun. Like I said, that's the thing, you never know what you're going to get. One time I was playing with my daughter, and she's sitting on the table like this while we were playing, and the question was name who could name the most My Little Ponies. So my daughter's sitting there like this, and I'm trying to. I know she's going to get it, so I'm just trying to bid her up. So I get her up to like 6 or 7, and she sits up, and she's wearing a My Little Pony T-shirt, and she just goes and rattles them all off. So I mean, like it's a fun game to play. Like I said, you get anytime if you know anybody who has knowledge of anything, whether it's sci-fi, fantasy, basic, like because they have that other category where it's just general knowledge. I think a lot of different people can have fun with this game.
Right.
And for me, that's number 42, Geek Out.
Okay, and number 41 on my list is Sheriff of Nottingham. It's one of the Dice Tower Essential games,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason why I would have put it up higher, but again, it's bringing it to the table. I feel that to play this game, you have to play with the right group of people, because I played it with my family before, and boy, I can tell when they're lying all the time. And so the game's no good with them. But then when I come to my other group that takes things seriously,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, it's a cool game. It's a game about trying to get contraband into the city, and you actually hide them in these little pouches that freaking rip. My buttons are already broken because I played with them so much. But you put them in, and you either tell the truth or you lie, and whoever's the sheriff that turn will determine whether to let it go through or to open up the bag and say, hey, you're lying because you got contraband in here. But it's a really cool bluffing game, and I don't have very many bluffing games on my list, but one definitely that you definitely have to play with the right group of people. And that was my number 41, Sheriff of Nottingham.
It's funny you mentioned the bags because I've watched this game played. I watched them play it live on Dice Tower a couple times, and I've seen it played, and it looks like a really fun game. But that's my biggest reason why I'm hesitant to pick this up is because I watch people tear those bags open, and I'm like, just every time they do that, I cringe because I'm waiting for that velvet to tear or the button to
It's
break or
just
something.
a cheap plastic belt button right
Yeah,
into velvet, and if you're
and
not careful, that'll rip right up.
it seems like such an important mechanic of the game is that because it's from what I understand that the sound of that snap is when bidding stops.
Right.
And I
That's
watched
when
it.
that's when you've committed. When you make that snap,
Yeah,
you cannot change your mind what's inside
yeah.
that little bag.
And I watch this guy, I watch like Sam and Z play it, and they're get real into it, and they're like, bang, they rip it open. I'm like, oh man, that thing's gonna come apart. So that's been my one stumbling block for that game. Otherwise, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, I remember Jessie, the artsy robot. She made bags for that game. She showed everybody how to make it, and then she got comments that said, "No, you can't do that because the snap means that
Yeah,
you can't go back, and your bag doesn't make a sound." So it's like,
yeah.
okay.
That's cool. Yeah, that's still I haven't played it yet, but still definitely I want to play. All right, my number 41 for to round out this episode is a game based on a universe of games that I love, and it is Sentinels Tactics from Greater Than Games, and this is based in the same universe as the Sentinels of the Multiverse card game. And Sentinels Tactics basically is a tabletop version of that game. You play a lot of the same characters against a lot of the same villains, and it just really captures the theme fantastic. You basically take they do a really great job of porting over the card characters and turning them into the characters for the tabletop game. Really cool system of combat and using your powers and selecting your powers. Movement on the board is cool, the way they do levels in the city and moving around there. And just some really nice little touches. The rule book, the game is scenario based. And basically what you do is the scenario starts out in a comic book. And you read the comic and you get to a certain point in the story, and then you play out the rest of it. And so it's really cool. And I'm a big fan. If you've seen my review of Sentinels of the Multiverse and some of the expansions, I really love that game, and I really love the universe. So this game really is a lot of fun, and I really got to give it extra points. The thing I really love that Greater Than Games did with this, and I wish other game companies would catch on, is they sold this game. They sold the characters as cardboard stand-ups, and then they sold separately plastic minis. And I just thought
Okay.
that was such a fantastic idea to basically give the player and the person buying it, how pimped out do you want this game? If you're okay with plastic minis, that's fine. Knock $20 off the price, and you can have that. If you want the minis, you get that separate. And I wish that would become a standard in the board game industry. I think people could save a lot of money on their games.
Right. So kind of if you want to pay for this like upgrade, you can get
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
That's actually a pretty good idea. And you said that game company did that. It was you can either buy this or add this
Yeah,
to it.
the base game came with the stand-ups, and then they sold the package of minis separately. And they did that with another one of their games. I think it's called Galactic Strike Force is the name of it. I'm pretty sure something like that. But they did the same thing with that, where it came with a bunch of a bunch of ships, and you either got cardboard stand-up ships or you could buy the pack of minis.
Okay, that's one that is on my list also, on my long list actually, to
Yeah,
check out.
they are. I think they're currently reprinting that. I got an email from their newsletter recently, where, and I don't want to misquote them, but essentially they weren't happy with the way the game had gone so far. So they're basically starting from scratch. They have all that information up on their website. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure how they phrased it, but there's going to be a reprint of that game coming out soon.
Did the card game get discontinued? They're not making any more expansions.
There's one more expansion coming out. Unfortunately, I hate the fact that it's ending, but there's one more really big expansion coming out. I think it's the end of this year. I think it's scheduled for the end of this year anyway. But that'll be that. And I get the feeling that their initial plan was that they were doing that to focus on Sentinel's tactics, but tactics just didn't pick up or catch on the way they wanted it to. So they're going to give that one another try. But yeah, from everything I understand, I've talked to some play testers for Greater Than, and that is the plan right now to end the card game after this next expansion.
Ooh. Yeah, that's something definitely because of your review. I picked up Sentinels of the Multiverse, but I don't have any of the expansions.
Yeah, that's a game we'll be talking about later.
Okay.
All right, well, that wraps up this episode number 50 through 41. Asdruval, do you have any closing comments, anything you wanted to add?
Just everybody, you can check me out on Board Game Blender every other Thursday. Check out restorationgames.com and vote. Subscribe to the newsletter for all the up-to-date info. And that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Asdruval. I really appreciate it. Had a lot of fun. And like I said, it's great to really get to know the games you play and, the games you enjoy. So I'm going to have fun with the rest of this list. We'll have 4 more episodes coming up. Next time we'll do episode number 40. I believe next Sunday, and correct me if I'm wrong, Asdruval, we are going to be here. The capacity in which what we'll be doing, I'm not sure yet. We may be doing or we'll be doing our next episode, 40-31, or we may have a special surprise for everybody. We're still in the works, so I'll let you know. Watch our Facebook page and Twitter throughout this week, and I'll let everybody know for sure what's going to be going on. But we will see you next week one way or the other. Thanks again. It's great to be back. Link in the description for Restoration Games for Asdruval and the group he's working with. Definitely check that out. Looks like it's going to be something awesome. Like our Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter. Watch Board Game Blender. And we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye-bye, folks.